Hey there, and welcome to Week 6 Boom Bust Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network. We're going to be breaking down some booms and busts at each position for your weekly matchup. Now, what is a boom and what is a bust is whether the player exceeds or falls short of their general expectations for the week based off of most websites' weekly rankings. All right, Kyle, you ready to get rolling?
I am, and we're going to get started with a bust because who doesn't love starting off on a negative foot?
Might as well.
And we're going to go with Travis Etienne.
Womp womp.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit against Kansas City. When you look at his past over the season, he has his good games against not so good rushing defenses, rough games against Kansas City and Houston, who are pretty good against the run. Seattle is pretty decent against the run, and they're also putting up pretty good points on the year, so I could see him maybe getting game scripted out a little bit. So like ETN, you're probably going to start him because with the injuries the way they are this year, you're hurting for running back. So you can't really bench him, but definitely you're going to temper your expectations for ETN against Seattle.
Yeah, I think he's had a stronger start to the season than anyone actually expected. But then kind of came back down to earth against Kansas City, and I feel like that's kind of where he's going to set here against Seattle this week.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that he won't bounce back again from that, but again, those expectations this week should be a little bit lower than they have been.
Yeah, he's still gonna have a great year. He's got much better matchups in the future, but
100%.
this week temper those expectations a bit.
Agree with that. All right, who's your next guy? Good
All
news.
Right, so yeah, let's go ahead and do some good news. We're going to start with Jacory Croskey-Merritt versus Chicago.
Okay.
And, we finally saw him get like a full workload and what that would look like this last week against the Chargers, who they themselves are a pretty good rushing defense. He did really, really well with those carries. He's not one that's going to get you a lot of catches and passing yards, but he's very efficient he's getting almost 8 yards a carry, on just touching the ball and 2 touchdowns. He's not going to get 2 touchdowns every week, but that team is going to be in positions to score quite a bit. So he is going to have a chance to score, especially when McLaurin gets healthy. That offense is going to be even more ridiculous. But this week against Chicago, one of the worst rush defenses in the league, I love me some Bill Croskey-Merritt.
Yeah, I think seeing his workload pretty much double is a good sign. Now his snap share is still below 50%, but those other guys are not getting a big workload. So he's obviously the lead back now, which went right after the injury of Eckler happened. It seemed like a 3-headed monster, and it's like, no thanks. But now it seems like they're finally starting to trust Bill. And like you said, against Chicago, yes, please give me that.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
All right. Next. Our next one is another bust, and it's DeAndre Swift. He's had some decent looking fantasy output numbers, but when you break down the metrics, his efficiency is awful. The games where he doesn't score a touchdown, he barely does anything for your team. And coming out of a bye, I have a strong feeling, obviously nothing's guaranteed, but I think he starts losing some work to Kyle Monangai and maybe even Rashawn Johnson a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing his workload size dwindle just a little bit. That's going to hurt when he's already not efficient with the touches he's getting. So even though the matchup itself is not bad, I think all of those other factors lean me towards not trusting DeAndre Swift this week.
Yeah, Swift just hasn't looked good.
No.
Right? And he's been getting the opportunities. I mean, he's got high snap share and he's getting quite a few touches on the ball. He just hasn't looked good. Yes, he's been getting double-digit scoring each week, but it's still not like wow, right? You've got some much lesser running backs getting the same production, So not excited by him. Chicago fans don't seem excited from him. So Monangai coming on, who a lot of people say passes the eye test, and I think Bears fans are a little bit excited about. I could see him start eating into Swift's workload here. Scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, my next guy is going to be another boom, and he's going to be a bit of a deep one, but the way injuries are going, everybody needs a deep one right now. Kimani Vidal. Yeah, Kimani Vidal with the Chargers. Now they did go and sign Naeem Hines today, and there's a chance that he ends up being the early down, high volume guy. I don't think it's going to be this week, and I think Vidal is going to end up getting most of those types of touches. You've got Hassan Haskins, who's kind of the larger back, the plotter, the goal line guy. This is your pass catcher, your between the 20s guy. And I think against Miami, I think that sets him up to have maybe not a Rico Dowdle day, but a respectable fantasy day for those of us hurting with injuries right now.
Yeah, I don't think Hines is going to be able to come in and just take away from him like that. Like you said, this is focusing on this week. I like the situation here, and so he's going to be startable. I'm not worried about Hines yet. So start Vidal with pretty good confidence, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the bust column.
All right, more bad news. Give it to me.
And we're going to throw Jaylen Warren over there. Now, after recording last week and then Benson going on IR, I want to cover my bases here in case Warren does not play this week.
Yeah, good call.
So Warren scares me, not just because of the matchup, but because he's coming back off that injury. But this bust extends to Kenneth Gainwell if he ends up getting the start as well, because they're playing Cleveland, who, as we know, is the most
bad matchup
defense against the run in the league. So whether it's Jaylen, whether it's Kenneth, you really want to try to avoid both of them if you can.
Yeah, that's just compounding issues there with Warren coming back off of an injury if he's not 100%, and then against Cleveland, like you said, that's just too tough. So that is too many red flags for me to be excited about Jaylen Warren this week. So I'm with you, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Back to the boom column. We love our good
All right.
Stefon Diggs for
man,
a boom.
Coming alive.
Dude, first few weeks of the year, Hunter Henry's the guy in that offense, right? He's the go-to for Drake May. All of a sudden, the last couple weeks, Diggs is playing like he's healthy. He looks good. His targets have spiked from 5, 3 to 7 and 12. They're playing New Orleans, who is a defense that can be beat in the air. I love this matchup for Diggs and, by proxy, Drake May this week against New Orleans for sure.
Man, yeah. Talk about just coming alive finally. I mean, we've been waiting on this from Diggs. We kind of expected him, to come over. He's a great wide receiver. And what better time to do it than against Buffalo in Buffalo? Right? So good for him. And I don't see why he would regress from that.
No.
I'm excited for him. So I've got a lot of stock in Diggs, and now I'm excited to see him start doing his thing.
Yeah, I like Stefon Diggs a lot. So seeing him be healthy, get the workload he deserves, and be productive with it the way he is, makes me feel very, very good.
Just got to make sure Cardi B doesn't distract him at this point.
At this point, it's like not all is wrong in the world. Stefon Diggs is back, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
All right. We're going to hit you with my last bust, and it's Garrett Wilson.
Womp womp.
Even last week, so they're playing Denver, so he's going to get the Surtain treatment. But even last week when A.J. Brown was, getting the squeaky wheel treatment, he still only had like 50-some yards against Surtain, and they were pounding him with the ball.
Yeah.
And that was with, Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. I don't see Justin Fields in that offense being able to do the same kind of things that Jalen Hurts in that offense can do. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball, especially to Garrett Wilson. So definitely, man, I have a hard time imagining you can bench Garrett Wilson. But again, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of him if I'm playing him.
Yeah, I think this is going to be another Mason Taylor type game where he's just going to get peppered with quick targets. So even if Garrett Wilson gets some catches in there, they're going to be nothing spectacular. They're going to be short, quick passes. But against Surtain, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's kind of what we saw from A.J. Brown. They weren't spectacular passes. They were, short passes outside, whatever. So they were kind of letting them have it, So
Yeah.
I see the same sort of thing happening with Garrett Wilson. He got bailed out against Dallas last week when he got, kind of a garbage time touchdown. It boosted his fantasy numbers. He's not going to get that this week.
Yeah.
I don't think he gets that against Denver.
No, and I'm with you on the Mason Taylor deal too, because Goddard had a pretty good game last week against Denver, as AJ Brown was covered by Surtain. But like, I really think they just don't have anybody else to throw to for New York other than Taylor if Surtain is all over Garrett Wilson.
Well, and their offensive line isn't as good as Philly's.
No.
So they're not going to be able to protect him long enough to it's going to be quick dump offs. And I feel like Breece Hall's probably going to get some more receptions. And I feel like, and I know this isn't about Justin Fields, but they're going to have to let Justin Fields run that ball a little bit more because he's going to be running for his life. I have a bad feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100% on that. Okay. So my last.
Should I take a guess?
My last boom is Tet McMillan. And he's playing the Dallas Cowboys, who honestly,
automatic,
last week looked pretty good against Fields and Garrett Wilson until that garbage time deal. But
yep.
I think this offense as a whole will play better. I don't see Dallas's defense being able to, keep the lid on that defense 2 games in a row. I think Tet gets through. I think Tet has enough targets and enough big plays. He's going to have a very nice day against his secondary.
Yeah, I don't think that Dallas defense is good like they looked against the Jets. I mean, as Cowboys fans, we were surprised. We were like, what's going on? How do we look this good? And the Jets just kind of look that bad. You know what I mean? So I don't think they can pull that off 2 games in a season, much less 2 weeks in a row. So right. I don't think that happens again here, even though it is Carolina. But I feel like Carolina's offensive line is pretty legit. I feel like they're going to be able to run pretty good against Dallas, which is then going to open up the passing game against Dallas. So I see Dallas winning the game, but I don't see them bottling up that Carolina offense like they did the Jets.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
Cool. With you on that. All right. That's all the booms and busts for this week. Get a good look at that. Good luck this week, guys.
Go win week 6.